And welcome to the channel, everybody. I'm Brant, and I'm ready to talk to you about only good comics. This time, we're talking about Transformers issue number 1 from Image Comics, Skybound by Daniel Warren Johnson. This is the relaunch of the franchise, the very first of the Hasbro properties to join this new Energon verse that started with Void Rivals. And this was a fantastic book. I really enjoyed this. Before I get into the actual content of the book and start showing it off, I'll show off the covers that I got. Of course, I got that one. I also got this, I'd call it like a battle variant, but I got that one, which I think is pretty cool. And then I got the two teams, the Autobots and the Decepticons. Those are the 4 covers that I managed to get. I'd love to know what covers you picked up for Transformers number 1. I wish I'd gotten a couple more, but these are the ones that I got. So here you go. All right. So let me take this out of the sleeve real quick. And I'm a huge Transformers fan. I talked about this on Friday First a while back. You can see Optimus Prime is a central piece in this picture that's this print that's on my wall. I grew up with Transformers and G.I. Joe, and so I love those franchises. I'm more of a G.I. Joe fan, but I loved my Transformers as well. I just couldn't afford as many Transformers as I could G.I. Joe, so I got more to G.I. Joe. And they were, I don't know, I just like them better to play with. So anyway, Transformers. This is a retelling kind of the origin, or rather the Transformers coming online on Earth after crash landing there so long ago. We've seen this story told a few different ways over the years, but this was a nice opening. You open with Spike and his dad, and there's some of the art. If you're not familiar with Daniel Warren Johnson, from Do a Powerbomb and Beta Ray Bill and Murder Falcon, was that the other one? That's the only one I haven't read. But so a different version of Spike, who kind of stumbles across the Transformers, the Autobots there laying in pieces and rubble and all that stuff, and they are awoken as I think is it Jetfire that comes in flying in from Void Rivals and has to put them online, and then all this stuff happens. Of course, Starscream being a jerk and taking matters into his own hands and kind of turning on him. So already proven himself to be the villain from the jump. And conspicuous by his absence through all this, by the way, is Megatron, who is referenced just briefly, where one of the other Transformers starts to say his name, and Starscream's like, "Don't say his name," and so Megatron's out of the picture, at least for now. And there's obviously some rifts that are going on with Starscream and Megatron. We'll see how that plays out once Megatron comes into play. Starscream has always been trying to usurp Megatron's authority and kind of take power for himself. But we've got like all the classics. You got Soundwave and Starscream and Ratchet, and interesting that we do not get Bumblebee in this one. So that's I think we talked about it on Comic Book Weekly, where Bumblebee's not going to be in the series because Hasbro's like, we've done enough Bumblebee, so we want to veer away from that. So that's kind of cool. This is a nice horizontal page where they're driving, rolling out, as it were. But this was really cool. So this was a really action-packed introduction to the Transformers for our human characters that are kind of our window into this world. And as they find themselves on this planet, and what we see, I don't want to spoil it for anybody that hasn't read it, but what we see on that last page is something that I don't think we've ever seen in a Transformers comic before, or a story before. If we have, somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but it's pretty brutal, and it's what you would expect from an evil robot coming into contact with a human, but to see it, it's completely different, right? So yeah, this was the second book in the Energon verse universe books. Obviously, Duke and Cobra Commander is still to come. But I thought this was a fantastic read. Really kind of nailed the nostalgia while also bringing it into the present and giving it a fresh vibe, giving their conflict a little bit more. Uh, I mean, there's always been angst and there's always been action and there's always been drama between the factions in whatever version of Transformers you grew up on, whatever version of Transformers you've seen. This one, I felt like did a really good job of humanizing them and again bringing it into the present world, the current world, and everything that's going on with technology and all that stuff. So I'm really curious to see where this goes, how it ties into the other books, if it will tie in anytime soon. If not, that's fine by me. I would like them to focus on each individual story and then when the time is right to kind of bring them together. But I thought this was a fantastic start for this book. I really loved, so far I've loved everything coming from this whole Energon verse, and just looking at Duke and Cobra Commander. And we saw a preview of, in Void Rivals issue number 5 that came out this week, we saw a preview of Duke, and it showed us a different version of Duke's kind of origin story going into the G.I. Joe team than we've seen. He's got a scar over his eye, and he's usually, by the letter. He's never wants to take a promotion, wants to stay in the field, wants to be, at the forefront of everything. But and he's always like, he's straight lace. He doesn't do anything off book, whatever. And General Hawk calls him in and is like, I expected this from your brother, which all of us that watched the G.I. Joe movie, the cartoon movie, know that they're talking about Falcon, which is really cool because we don't get to see much of Falcon that he's referenced here. But we don't expect this from you. And that's kind of how that preview ended. So it's like, oh, okay. So we're going to see why Duke is the perfect person to lead G.I. Joe, because he does finally go off script when it matters, is what I'm assuming happens here, that there's like a distinct reason why he does that. So I'm just really excited about this whole premise of meshing these worlds, meshing both Transformers and G.I. Joe, which we've seen before, but also bringing in new properties and hopefully bringing in even more stuff that will just gonna kind of make the story rich and interesting again, for first season readers and new readers alike. And I think that this book does a really good job of doing that. So if you're a Transformers fan, definitely check this out. If you're not, I still recommend you at least checking this first issue out. If you're a Daniel Warren Johnson fan, definitely pick this up, because the dude knows how to craft a story artistically and emotionally. And while this may not quite pack the punch of a Duo Power Bomb just yet, we know history tells us that these characters, even though they're giant alien robots beating each other up, are layered and have a lot of depth to them when you dig into their stories and their motivations and their personalities. There's a lot of richness here, and I think Daniel Warren Johnson and Joshua Williamson are two creators that can really bring that out of these properties, along with Robert Kirkman. So it's like A-list hit team right here, and I expect knocks out of the park eventually, even if you don't think in the first issue, but I do. I think this knocked it out of the park for me as a longtime fan and as somebody that is revisiting this world. So hopefully you feel the same. And if you like this video, of course, please give it a thumbs up and hit that subscribe and notification bell so you don't miss any of the other content on this channel. And of course, you can call me. Yeah, no, don't call me. You can follow me across social media at Only Good Comics, and come right here to onlygoodcomics.com. That will take you right back to this YouTube channel for even more content as we talk about only good comics. Until next time, thanks for watching and keep reading.